Alright, this is Andrew Jolly with Jota Home Inspections. We're here today at 207 South, 200 West in Tooele doing a sewer scope. We've got the camera pushed out 115 feet to the city connection. Now we're going to pull it back and record it and see what we find. So this first connection point is called the nose on. This is where it goes from your lateral line into the main city line. Looks like a good connection here where the lateral line's draining into the city line. So one of the main things I'm looking at on the line is whether you have standing water. This line has some areas with standing water. You're starting to see it right here, and that indicates a little bit of a belly, a little bit of a flat spot where it holds some water, where you don't have as good of slope as you should. You never want to have standing water because waste can collect there, buildup can occur, and that can allow for a blockage, which can lead to a backup. So not ideal when you have standing water like that. That's far from the worst that I've seen so far. A lot of houses, my camera's completely underwater, which is a really bad sign, or sometimes I find waste sitting in those areas with the standing water. That's a bad sign. So far I haven't seen the waste sitting in the water, and my camera head's been able to stay above it, which says a little of something. You're seeing a root on the line now. This is a joint where two pieces of the sewer line connect, and that's one of the spots that roots like to creep in. Once you have roots, you're always going to have roots, and so it'll be something you need to maintain in the future. This one's big enough that I'd recommend having cleaned out now. When you have big roots like this, waste can get caught and lead to a backup. This one's covering about 40% of the pipe, and so it does reduce what can get through it. Luckily, these couple roots that we've seen so far are on the top of the pipe, so not where waste is going to be running through the line right now, but as they grow, once it hits the bottom of the pipe, it's going to allow for a backup real quick. So I'd recommend having it cleaned sooner than later. Another little bit of a belly. This is clay pipe, it looks like. If you look at the bottom left side of the pipe, how it has that red hue to it, that looks like clay to me. Now we just transition to cast iron. Cast iron is a metal pipe. It gets really rough and rusty like you're seeing on the screen. It also will flake over time and get very thin. A lot of times cast iron can be considered the weakest link in your sewer line because it does eventually need to be replaced as it deteriorates. Waste can get caught on it, which can lead to a backup. It's harder to clean in some ways because you can't hydrojet it. I guess you can hydrojet it, but what happens is it flakes a lot and it thins out the pipe. And so sometimes it makes a bigger mess out of the line than not hydrojetting it or having it cleaned in other ways. You can have it coated, which is where they use a chain cutter to cut off a small layer of the pipe. That's an okay option with cast. So just to recap, you have a fair amount of roots, or a couple I should say, a couple. One of them was pretty big. I'd recommend having it cleaned out now. And then a couple areas that have a little bit of standing water. No waste in those spots, but the only real way to fix a belly like that is to dig up the pipe and re-slope it. So I'm going to end this recording now.